Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Health. Happy New Year. Approval of minutes, November 27th, 2018.
I move we approve the minutes for November 27th, 2018.
I
Board of
second.
Health.
Is motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
301. Approval of minutes, December 11th, 2018.
I move we approve the minutes for the Board of Health on December 11th, 2018.
I'll second that.
Motion second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
3-0, oh no, you,
I was there
Mrs. Welsh came
late,
late, but
but I
we're-
did
we're
read
good.
them.
We're good,
Okay,
4-0.
thank you.
Yeah, 4-0,
All
thank
right,
you.
thanks.
Citizens' time. Is anyone here who is not on the agenda who has any issues or concerns to bring before the Board of Health? Applications. Application for site plan approval and special permits, 24 Terry Avenue, BAPA Corporation, care of Northern Business Machines. Good evening. You know the drill.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, staff, for the record, my name is Bill Proy. I'm here for the applicant this evening. Dave Romero, the project engineer, is here as well, and Amy Geary from the ownership is here for any questions that we
Christine?
can answer.
Great, thank you so much. Christine?
The applicant, or Northern Business Machines, is put an addition on an existing building at the end of Terry Ave. It is a two-story addition, and they're upgrading the stormwater system to meet current stormwater standards. That will include some water quality units and underground infiltration. Test pits have been done and witnessed, and I'll let,
What's the addition?
it's a two-story addition to
Yeah, it's just.
offices and
Mark,
warehouses.
got it. All right, please.
Sure. Move this, or that would be set for the camera?
Fine.
Again, my name is David Romero with Commonwealth Engineering. So this is 24, this is Terry Avenue here, this is the end of Terry Avenue, and this is the site here. It's about 6.5 acres, plus or minus. This is the existing building, this light tan here. This gray area is the pavement, it's the existing pavement. And this is gonna be the proposed addition right here. And actually, the first thing we'll be doing is demolishing the existing pavement that's there right now. So essentially, we're replacing a building, a pavement with a building. So we have rooftop that's gonna take place of what's existing pavement right now. There is some drainage on site. There's a catch basin here that discharges to a stream and a wetland system here. The rooftop right now actually comes directly out to that same discharge.
I'm sorry, just for, where are we in?
Right there.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. So we're proposing some drainage improvements on site. Even though it's a redevelopment, we still are trying to provide some mitigation for the construction. So the rooftop here will all be going to an infiltration system, running right along here, underground plastic chambers. The main building will also be going to an infiltration system that's located here, and we've done test bits at both those locations. We actually found good soils. The groundwater is about 5 feet down, so we have a little bit of space to put our underground chambers. Also at the discharge point, we're gonna be removing and replacing the existing catch basin, putting a 4-foot sump, so it's conforming. And we're also going to put a water quality unit, so that anything that comes out before it discharges will get further treatment. So we are gonna be making some quite substantial changes to the stormwater on site. And that's really all we're doing for site work. The parking area will basically stay the same. We are losing some parking spaces, but we do have sufficient enough to for the building. And there's curbing all the way, it's actually Cape Cod berm all the way along the site right now. I think that's really about it, so answer any questions.
Dr. Weiner?
I have two. Just, the first is is for Christine, and I didn't see anything here. There is no contamination at all in this area?
No.
So we're not worried about any remediation whatsoever, okay? And the second was, I looked up, are we approving this for BAPA or for Northern Business Machines? Because I looked up BAPA and I could find nothing for BAPA. So who is the
So Kara,
proponent here?
PA is the applicant, that's the technical official applicant.
They are the applicant? Okay, I know that Northern Business Machines, so I don't know what I know what the use is, and it doesn't require, again, Christine, a special permit here?
It's for site plan and special permit.
And a special permit? Okay, thank you very much. And BAP is what? Is that just a holding company? Is that a real estate company?
Yes, it's just, it owns the property, and Building Business Machines rents the property from BAPA.
Okay, thank you very much.
and so, south, is that all wetland area, south of the property?
Yeah, this is all large, this lighter green, all wetland and down, further down.
And then it's all wetlands too?
It's owned by the town.
And the water level is, I thought it'd be higher than 5 feet, so,
Yeah, it's about 5, well, actually, where we're putting the systems in, it's actually kind of gradually goes up, because the land drops off, right off the edge of the property, all this developed area. It's up higher than this area around it, that's why.
Christine, any concerns? No. It seems very straightforward.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the site plan and special permits for 24 Terry Ave, the proponent being BAPA for Northern Business Machines.
There's a motion, all 13 conditions are good?
Yes, we reviewed them, they're all
Great.
fine, thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0, thank you very much, good luck. Permit, keeping of animals permit, 128 Wilmington Road. Yeah. Sign in, give us your name, please.
My name is Bill Hoffman.
Ms. Hardy.
So, Bill is here on behalf of his wife, Rachel. They're applying for a keeping of animals permit for 6 chickens. I did an inspection of the property, and I don't see any reason why I can grant them the permit. They are asking for a variance from Part 3, Section 6, for the 75 feet from the house.
For the 3 feet
72
difference?
feet from the house.
So, Mr. Hoffman, do you know the process by which you've come here tonight?
The process, no, sorry.
So you live down the street from me. I live on Wheatland.
Oh,
And I drove by your house and I saw chickens. And I don't know how long they'd been there, but you had a run, you had a coop, and I don't remember our ever approving your having chickens.
right.
So I called our director and I said, does this property have approval to have chickens? No, they don't. And then my wife comes home and she says, there are chickens in the road down on Stanwood? I said, no. So you're here, you would have to come anyway, but you had chickens without approval. And I've never come upon, in my time here, I've never had that before. And it seems like we're in a process of asking for forgiveness rather than asking for permission. And I understand that your wife would otherwise have known better, that there would have need to have been a permit in order to have chickens on the property. We didn't know if you had roosters. I didn't know, there are no roosters, right? I didn't know any of that. So can you kind of lead us into what your process of thinking was?
Yeah, we got the chickens, we set up a coop for them, we have no roosters, we eat their eggs, and we put up a fence, and the fence didn't contain the chickens, so we are putting up a more stringent fence, and they have their own run now, so they're totally contained.
How come you didn't ask for a permit? I understand that your wife is a control officer for another town?
Yeah, yes,
How come you didn't ask for a permit? That's what I'm getting at.
yeah.
Did you just think you could order chickens and it was okay?
I think that was the thought process, yeah. But now now we know better, and we're very, very sorry.
So, and there's no concerns regarding the abutters or anything else like that? Okay. So we talked about two things, keeping up with the variance and the permit?
Yes.
Okay, can we'll do them separately or together?
Separate's good.
Separately.
Is there a better fence now? You know, we do have coyotes in town, we have bear in town, there's a lot of things. I don't know if bears eat chickens, but I know the coyotes sure do, and
Bears eat chickens for sure, yeah. We have them in their own little fence now, separate from any exterior fences. They used to be able to kind of hang out in the yard, and now they're in their own little spot, and they can't get out.
What is the aluminum thing you're putting up there?
That's just a fence. Like
a large fence in the perimeter?
Yeah, that's just a people fence.
Okay.
That's not from the chickens.
So,
Chairman?
the chair will entertain a motion for the permit at the board's pleasure first.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question.
Please.
Susan, so right now it's 6 and we're approving, right? 6?
Yes.
We don't want any more than 6.
Okay. I was just saying, come for us again, okay.
We don't want you to go afoul.
Oh,
Hey, very nice, right?
All right, the chair will entertain a motion. We'll start with the permit first.
I move that we approve the permit for 6 chickens at 128 Wilmington Road, Burlington.
I guess I can second that.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing no one in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Now the variance.
I move we approve the variance from 75 feet to 72 feet from the residential home for the chickens at 128 Wilmington Road, Burlington, Mass.
second?
Motion and a second for a nice little cold.
Yeah, doesn't it sound good?
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Approved. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Discussion, kennel license recommendation, 8 Woodhill Road. Welcome, folks.
Hello.
Ms. Hardy.
All right, so Kristen Mikesell from 8 Woodhill Road is applying to the town clerk's office for a kennel license. She has 3 small dogs, and the tenant downstairs has 1 dog, and they're planning on getting a second dog. Susan and I did an inspection on December 21st, and we found no problems there. I got a good recommendation from Jerry, the dog officer, so let's see why there's any reason we couldn't get.
So we're all dog lovers. What kind of dogs do you have?
Our oldest dog is a mini schnauzer, the middle one is a Min Pin Chihuahua, and the youngest is some sort of whippet mix, maybe. They're all rescues.
You have a Chihuahua middle child?
Min
That
Pin
cannot be
Chihuahua.
good. That cannot be good.
Yeah, she sort of rules the entire house.
And what's the large dog?
So our tenants, we have a legal accessory apartment. Our tenants have a German Shepherd Collie
Okay.
mix.
All right, very good.
So I have a question here.
Yes.
It says, Mrs., how do you pronounce it, Mikesell?
Mikesell.
Mikesell is the owner of 3 dogs, 1 large and 3 medium-sized. Isn't that 4 dogs?
And the large dog is the tenant's dog.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Her
And
tenant is
It's
what?
algebra.
It's algebra.
Yeah, it's algebra,
you know.
yeah. There's a
3
very,
plus 1
yeah,
is
there's
4,
a
not 3.
there's a variable in there,
Right.
and anyway, it's,
And I do know we have a little bit of a unique situation because we're not the owners of all of the dogs, but I did bring our lease, or the pet addendum from our lease that indicates that we have, we maintain authority to, if one of the tenant's dogs is causing a noise disturbance or if there are aggression problems, we have the right to have them remove the dog, or they have the right to break the lease with us for that purpose. So
I
we
get
do
it.
have that.
it's your house, I mean, so it
Right,
falls under your
but-
house, so, yeah, I get that, I get it. Director,
But I know there was concern about, them, it was expressed to us that there was concern about them, going out and going wild with dogs, and we do have control is I guess the point.
well, you've got the Chihuahua. Director.
Oh, I
just wanted, so, just to clarify that too, I had a conversation with Amy Warfield, the town clerk, about this, because this is kind of an unusual situation where the kennel license is actually gonna go to her, although she's not the owner of all the dogs. But because it's the same address, the town clerk said that she needs to have the kennel license under one person, and all the dogs reside at that address, so they need a kennel license.
And you have no problem accepting responsibility?
Nope, not at all.
All right, so Jerry Mills is good, he's our control officer, you're good, the chair will entertain a motion.
I have one question, Mr. Chairman. There's no complaints about barking or whatever from the, nothing at all? No? Okay. Well, I move that we approve a kennel license for 8 Wood Hill Road for the keeping, do I say 4 dogs?
Yeah.
For 4 dogs.
It will be 5. That's
Yeah,
the
the tenant's gonna get a
the
second.
tenants are requesting to get a second dog.
To get a companion dog for their dog.
So 4,
So 5 dogs.
and I'll
because
leave
two
that to,
downstairs.
is 5 dogs okay? Then for 5 dogs then.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have fun, take care of that chihuahua.
Taco Bell, right?
Yeah.
Is that what the-
All right, here's a concerning section now. Discussion, Board of Health intern, Olivia Virgin. This can't be good.
Come on up.
Come on up.
Come on up. Oh, he made you appropriately read, too. That's awesome. That's awesome. Welcome. Who's going to introduce Olivia to the community and to the board?
Christine.
I can.
Please.
This is Olivia Virgin. She's a freshman at Endicott College, and she is studying environmental sciences. And she found me and asked if she could intern with us for the month of January. It's actually a requirement, a course requirement for her program at school, so she's fulfilling that by working 3.5 weeks straight, 35 hours a week, and getting, I believe, 2 credits for it, right?
Yeah.
So you graduated Burlington High School last year?
Yes.
Graduated with my child,
Who?
Ivy Saltzman.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Mine too.
Well, welcome, and a Welsh child as well. Well, welcome.
I'm excited
So,
to hear. Good for you.
so tell us a little bit about your program and what you are going to be doing for the town of Burlington for the month of January.
Okay, so I'm kind of mostly shadowing Christine and trying to figure out if environmental engineering is like what I want to do. And so my school requires that all freshmen do a 120-hour internship. So I decided I can do one in my town and see what, learn more about our town and see if environmental engineering is good for me.
And how did environmental engineering even get into your thought process?
I always wanted to be an engineer, and I really like the environment, and that's like always been my interest. So combine the two, and
Can't argue with that.
yeah.
Thank you so
That's
much.
awesome. We're thrilled you're going to play a role in the town, so that's great.
And I spoke to Olivia. She likes calculus. Oh, my God.
She can figure out the dog problem. So if you have 3 dogs and there's a 4th dog. No, that's good. What is the, do you have to do some sort of write-up, or what do you have to do for Endicott in order to get credit for this?
We have we have to do a write-up, and we have to fill like a timesheet, and we have questions we have to answer with like your supervisor. So there are requirements I have to do.
Can you come back at the end of your internship and just tell us what your thoughts were and how Christine can improve?
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's wonderful.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
We're glad you're here.
Welcome. Good luck in school.
Thank you.
All right. Environmental engineer report. Good evening again, Christine.
Good evening.
Remember, you're being watched now.
I know.
And you're being judged.
I know.
So, okay.
I welcome the judgment. First, I'll start with a public service announcement, and please ask that people don't discharge their sump pump water to the street or sidewalk or other people's property. The Board of Health regulations for stormwater requires that the discharge be infiltrated on the property where it's generated. As you can see from my report, I've been chasing down a lot of some pump discharges recently. Hopefully, most of them have been corrected. I think they're currently all in good standing. So I just would like to ask people to please review the regulations if you're not familiar with them, and do not discharge onto the street, sidewalk, or neighboring properties, period.
So aside from the obvious things that we know, I mean, aside from the fact that it's the law, that's one. Number two, and that especially this time of year, it causes slippery situations, et cetera. What is the problem with infiltrating sumping into the town sewer system?
There's not a problem as long as you get permission from the DPW, and it has to be hard piped underground from your point of origin to the local catch basin. So you have to go through a process with the DPW to get that approved.
Okay, so
And,
it's important.
storm sewer systems are designed for certain types of discharge, so they keep track of, what gets into the storm sewer, and it has a certain capacity, and all of that ends up in some water body at some point.
So Christine, do you offer a suggestion of where they should, position the pump if it, because obviously if you're draining out in your front and it's going into,
Just whatever makes the most sense. I mean, if you've got a
Yeah.
low backyard, but you're
Right.
a higher point in your front yard, then do it there. But just make sure that, it infiltrates, on your property.
and what are we doing? I've been reading some of the emails, obviously, Susan and Christine, what are we doing for the residents that it's falling into our systems? Like,
They've been sent order
they've been
letters.
sent order letters, okay. And is there a length of time
Yeah, it's in the,
in your report? Okay.
it prescribes in the order letter the correction.
Does the town still have a sump pump program?
DPW, residents can contact DPW. And I believe they're doing them, they do them on a case-by-case basis, but the point of contact would be DPW.
Thank you.
Thank you, okay. Continue, please.
Oh, just one other note that all of the septic hauler permit renewals went out in December. And that's about it. Any questions?
Any questions for our environmental engineer?
Just one.
Please.
Jurgensen gauge and valve has been an issue for a long time. We are at natural attenuation only. There's nothing else they can do in that area.
So they put absorbent socks in these particular areas whenever they see a measurable amount of material, so it's slightly more than natural attenuation.
But there's still NAPL there, correct?
Occasionally.
Occasionally. And why aren't we pumping and treating if there's still two-phase water issues there? Did DEP allow them to go to natural attenuation? Okay, thank you.
That confuses me too. How do you determine what needs to formal remediation versus a natural process?
I mean, there's still, at certain times a year, when they pump the water and they hold the water in a tube, there is material there which is greater than 1 million parts per million. It's greater than 1 million parts per million. And how come they allow that for natural attenuation when you have other areas around town which have so minute amounts of parts per million and they're still pumping and treating? I'm flabbergasted unless.
So they have to get an approval for a temporary solution, they have to be working towards achieving a permanent solution. And they go through a whole risk assessment with DEP, and it looks at exposure to both the environment and to people, and that all gets factored into what they're allowed to do.
Is that site open to a PIP?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay, we can talk about that later.
I can look it up.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for our environmental engineer? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to accept your report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? See none, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thanks, Christine. Health agent, good evening, Marlene.
Good evening. So I mentioned at the last meeting that Massachusetts had adopted a newer version of the food code. And we have on our website now the merged food code. Yesterday, all of the food service establishments received the information that was sent out to them, which were all the changes in the food code, so what they need to know. Also some handouts. Samantha and I, we worked together to come up with some handouts that we put together to help people transition, those that needed some assistance. And as I mentioned last week, the majority of those changes have to do with employee health and making sure that employees are not working sick, and that they get a bodily fluid cleanup kit in case there's any vomiting or diarrhea or accidents in the establishment.
Well, speaking of vomiting and diarrhea,
Yes.
so I'm always concerned when I see reports of Campylobacter. And now, does that just on occasion occur regardless of how well you're preparing food, or is it a consequence of not preparing food appropriately?
Well, it could be all of those. It could even be transmitted from person to person. So, my report, as I'm sure you read,
Yeah.
there were no violations. One of the establishments has pre-cooked chicken, so not even raw chicken, and it's known for raw chicken, Campylobacter.
Did we go any further with regard to the prepackaged stuff to see if it was part of a group of prepackaged stuff?
We would have been notified by the Food Protection Program if that were, because there would have been a cluster, and they would have been able to identify the area or even the establishment. So we didn't receive any of that information, so most likely not.
All right, so in the big picture, you do your due diligence, and we're satisfied that these were just kind of random.
Right, and we don't know
occurrences?
if the person cooked chicken and if they made sure their chicken was fully cooked. So there's a lot of variables. There was no smoking gun, let's put it that way.
Okay.
With these cases, it's hard to find a smoking gun.
Okay. Oh, continue.
Any other questions?
Not about Campylobacter.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
If there's no other questions for our health agent, the chair will entertain a motion to
I'll
approve the
make a
report.
motion to approve the health agent report.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
4-0. Thanks, Marlene. Is there an associate health inspector report? Okay, please. Ms. Hardy.
Alrighty. So I've been busy with Marlene implementing the new food code and all that. I've also been working with Susan to draft some new keeping of animals regulations that we're going to propose in a future meeting. So hopefully make it a little bit less complicated and more user-friendly. And last thing is I found an article from the Surgeon General. It's an advisory about e-cigarettes, which I thought was really interesting, so I attached that to the back of my report for you guys to read, just because there was information in there for people
Great.
like boards of health, as well as health professionals and parents and things like that, so I just thought that was good to,
When are we, I don't know how to phrase this appropriately, are we due for another sting?
We do them twice per year.
Twice per year. So this is just the new year, so, okay. All right. I didn't know how to say that appropriately. Yes, there could be one tomorrow. Thank you so much. No. All right. No, that's great. No, thank you very much for this. It's interesting how, I was reading a report, maybe it was from here, that the folks who are, who represent represented the Jewel product didn't want to make a comment. So,
I've been
It is what it
following
is.
them pretty closely.
it is what it is.
Researching
No,
it
thank
as
you very much. Any questions for our Associate Health,
Mr.
Director,
Chairman?
Agent, Health Agent? Please.
Now, would, you're rewriting for the, is that to support
Right,
the
for the
subcommittee?
subcommittee, yep, yep.
For the, okay,
So,
great.
yep.
That's what I thought.
All right.
Exciting.
Any other questions for our Associate Health Inspector? If not, the Chair will entertain a motion to approve her report.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thank you. Director?
Yeah, I was going to give, just to segue into that, an update on the animal regulations. So our subcommittee meeting is scheduled for January 28th.
Oh,
So I'll-
28th.
Yeah,
Okay, I
so
thought it was
I'll be
earlier.
sending that around to you.
Sure.
And David as well. And so we have a draft together. We'll be sending the draft out before then. And we're also planning on inviting the animal control officer to that meeting to see if he has any input into the regulations as well. So one of the things that we are looking at is just not putting a number on the number of animals, like chickens, not
Yeah,
saying you,
okay.
just, if you have one, then you have to get a permit. Among other
It's
things.
changing a lot from the
Yeah,
past.
yeah,
Okay.
so really what we've done is basically just kind of started over with new model regulations, and kind of looked at the model, looked at other towns, looked at ours, and kind of tried to incorporate things.
So will people that already have 3 chickens have to apply?
Yes, it's because they will then require a permit.
Right.
Yeah.
And an inspection too, right?
Yeah, so if you see any number of chickens around town, then they will have to come for a permit. And I'm also working on the fiscal year 2020 budget. So I met last week with department heads, and they gave us the guidelines. So I'd like to schedule a subcommittee meeting on that for the next week, so that we can bring it to the meeting in January for Board of Health approval, and then on to Ways and Means in March. And then one of the other things they asked us to look at is the fee schedule. So that's something that we are going to look at internally. I got staff working on that to kind of look at, okay, what are the fees for our permits? What are the permit fees for surrounding towns, and where do we stand in that, and do we need to raise fees? So that's something that we're going to look at. We haven't changed the fees, and last time we did it was 2010. So that will need to come before the board for approval. So we'll make some recommendations and give you that information that we found out, so that you can make a decision on the fees.
Prior to the Ways and Means?
We don't need to do it prior to that, no.
It would be nice if we had a recommendation, though, when we go to Ways and Means.
Hopefully, yeah. So one of the things I want to just make sure we do is that we kind of do look at surrounding towns, that we're not just making up numbers, that we want to kind of look and see. Although some of the things that we do are very unique, like the hazardous material registration. I mean, not many towns do that. So some of the things we'll have to kind of, well, we have a basis right now for how we set up our fees for that. So as long as we have some kind of reasoning or basis for it, we're going to try and provide that to you for that. So that's all the updates I wanted to provide.
Any update on the Ray Ave situation? Any changes?
No, we've received the monitoring reports that we needed, the monthly one from Cafe Escadrille. There wasn't anything identified as an issue or problem. We haven't received any reports from DPW that there's been any additional problems or backups or anything like that.
How often are they pumping?
The DPW, they're staying on their regular, what they were doing before, so it's
2 weeks?
no, a monthly thing now. So I'm gonna, I guess, we're gonna, as Bickford's gets online, try and look in that and say, okay, can he cut this down a little bit? Is this helping at all? Because they're using the solution now, and we just need to find out, is that helping?
During the winter months, when it's dark out, I get a little sad. Is there anything I can do for that?
You can go to the Burlington Public Library.
Why is that, Susan?
Because once the Burlington Public Library, once they get their grant and get their, they're going to be having SAD lights, so that you can go and you can go to the front of the library, check one out, and use it in the library. So they're not exactly sure how they're gonna do it yet, but it'll be on something like that. And so they contacted us to see if we had, any concerns, or if we would write them a letter, and we did that, and there was no concerns with it. There is a warning label that's put on these lights saying that you shouldn't spend too much time under them, et cetera, or if you have certain conditions.
So you're sundowning.
So, no.
No.
No. So, people would think, why do you want a SAD light if you are already sad? Well, because SAD stands for seasonal affective disorder. That's important to know. So, anyway, this is good. These lights do help people who are affected by the increased length of darkness that we deal with.
I worked for a Swedish company, and they use them all the time in Sweden.
Oh, not surprising. There are times when it doesn't get light, very, very light there.
At all.
Great. Any other questions for our director?
Yes, the director sent us a document I think is one of the most important documents. She's looking to see over my shoulder what it is, and that is peak population estimates. I think this is the most important document that she has sent us in a very long time, because we have been talking about this issue for years. And now, the planning board is talking about this issue because during the Christmas season, as an example, as I've talked about and many of my colleagues, we have a population that could go from 6 to 10 times the population of the residents here. And since we are one of the most important groups that coordinates emergency services, both through the Board of Health and through our agents, the Medical Reserve Corps, this number is so important when we budget. And we've talked about town meeting, we've talked to the selectmen and many others, but now somebody else is now recognizing it, is that we have to prepare for 200,000 people. I know it says 100,000 to 150,000, but it could clearly go much higher than that.
I thought it was much higher than that.
They just estimate. Nobody has a number, but they just estimate. And the issue is very clear that we are terribly underfunded in many areas. And thank you. And there are so many people here, and if there's an emergency and we don't have an appropriate car with markings, that we can't even get to the emergency. Is that right?
That's, yeah, well, we'll get there,
We
but.
should change that.
Yes, we
Thank
should.
you.
We should.
One of the important things about these estimates too is that we need to give an accurate number to the state as far as, the amount of medication that we would need in a certain emergency. So it's important, they have what's called Web EOC, and we keep our numbers updated on that. So it's important to let them know what our numbers potentially could be.
I'm just thinking, December 23rd is December 23rd, and something happens. We got a ton of people in this town.
Oh, yeah.
What is the BLS?
I think that's the Bureau of Labor and Statistics.
Statistics?
Yeah,
So they don't know, they're just guessing.
it's a guess.
Well, we have been guessing higher, and I think we're right.
I thought we estimated 250,000 people at our peak.
Up to, yes.
Well, I don't know what they so that's what I was trying to find out here. What are you basing that number off of?
I don't know. That's a number that I remember hearing when I first came onto the board. So, I don't know. Maybe Terry has information. I don't know.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for our director? If not, Chair, I'll entertain a motion to approve her report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. Any other questions, issues, concerns, new business, moving forward to our next meeting? If not, I urge everyone in our community to please heed signs of illness. If you feel yourself becoming ill and you can quarantine yourself and keep away from others, great. Please remember to wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Flu season is upon us. Be well and be safe, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good
Happy
night.
New Year.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.